overcome someday. Oh, we shall overcome. Somebody sing it, we shall. Oh, we shall overcome someday. Well, deep in my heart, oh, I believe that we shall overcome someday. Somebody say we shall. Oh, we shall. Let it ring out that we shall overcome someday. Well, deep in my heart, oh, I believe that we shall overcome someday.
The Rainbow Push Coalition, we're at our national headquarters this Saturday morning discussing a number of issues. Our founder, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, is a part of the shut down the Dan Ryan Expressway. We're talking about rebuilding where we live. We're talking about reinvesting. We're talking about our border. And he'll be, and Jonathan will be talking more about the border on the inside of the United States as well as the border on the southern end of the United States. We are live now all over the world. We thank those of you who are watching us on Impact Television across the continent of Africa, Asia, Europe, and in the Caribbean, China, and we thank all of you for joining in. It is our international broadcast. Those of you who are watching us, you can contact us right now. Go to rainbowpush.org. And then you can continue to watch us live on live stream. You can watch us live on Facebook and Twitter. We are inviting all of you, those of you who are watching us on a regular Impact Television, those of you who are listening to us on WVON and iHeartRadio, we thank you for always tuning in. We thank you for all of you who keep pushing. We thank you, all of our new members, those of you who have joined us since last week. Those of you who are interested in joining us, go to rainbowpush.org, hit the button membership, join Push, and you can become a member. Or if you don't have a computer, just call us 773-256-2775. Today, we are dedicating our broadcast to a number of family members, people close to us at Rainbow Push. Our own Reverend Will Hall, pastor of the St. James Lutheran Church. We're praying for his family on the passing of his father, William Hall Jr., who is being funeralized this morning, even as we speak. We're also praying for the family of Jesse White on the passing of his sister, Doris Ivy. We're praying for the family of Ed Schultz, a former liberal Lion television host, who made his transition this week. We're also praying for Ralph Page, family of Ralph Page, the former executive director of the Southern Cooperative. We're praying for the family, the Jewel Osco family, one of our main corporate supporters for a number of our programs, on the passing of their CEO, Mr. Doug Sajan. We're praying for Wanda Bostic's family, one of our Detroit members, and we're praying for Aaron Patterson on the loss of his mother, Joan Patterson. But even as we think about those who have made their transitions, we are also celebrating those who are still with us, who are still investing time, talent, and treasury. And we want to say happy birthday to our own Betty Magnus. She keeps on giving, and God keeps on keeping her. We want to thank God for the Reverend Mother Helen Sinclair as she celebrates her birthday today. You can join her in the Jesse Ma Houston Park today following Rainbow Push. And then next Saturday, we will be celebrating the 80th birthday of Dr. Leon Finney. He will be joining us, and the TWO family will be joining us next week. And we're going to have Contractors Day. Those of you who've been waiting to get involved in our construction program, our jobs program, our subcontractor program, you need to be here next Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. It's going to be a major breakfast. You don't want to miss it. So join Omar Sharif and the contractors for Construction Day, Contractors Day at Rainbow Push headquarters. This is a model for what we will be doing around the nation at all of our satellite offices in New York, Detroit, DC, Atlanta, and Silicon Valley. Also, we want you to support our Freedom Store, our bookstore. We have some new arrivals in the bookstore. Our own Mrs. Jacqueline Jackson has written a book. You don't want to miss her memoirs about, it's a compilation of letters she wrote to her son while he was behind prison bars. It's a powerful, faithful message. It will be, I think, helpful to a lot of families, a lot of mothers in particular. It's a mother-to-son kind of memoir. You don't want to miss getting a copy of a book by Mrs. Jacqueline Jackson, wife of Reverend Jesse Jackson. Also, there are two other books written by Attorney James Montgomery that you don't want to miss getting in our Freedom bookstore, our Freedom Store. We will be pushing our T-shirts. Every day you will see young people in our audience. They're wearing some of the Push Excel brand, and every week we're going to be showing you different items that you can purchase so that you can brand push wherever you are. We welcome April Branch's sister and family here today, all the way, some of them from Texas. We thank God for Kim returning home, and we're excited about their presence. And I think I have covered everything except we have young people here in our STEAM program. I would like all the young people in our STEAM sports program to stand right now. Well, all of them and all of the young people, children, they're here learning science, technology, engineering, math, and sports. They are learning tennis. They are learning aviation. They're learning how to program drones. They're learning robotics. They're learning how to design and own a T-shirt company. They are learning how to design and build houses using computer technology. That's part of our STEAM program. They will learn basketball. They're learning fitness. They have their own private fitness instructor. This is a model that we expect every church in every city across the nation. You can do what we're doing. You may not have as many students every week, but if we use our church facilities and partner with local schools, our young people can be fully engaged in STEAM, sports, and we're also teaching performing arts. We're teaching music. So if you have a child that can sing, or you think they might be able to sing, if you have a child that may be interested in the dramatic arts, we want to encourage that. We have some powerful instructors that are here. They're professionals, and they can impart great knowledge. We have some great coaches who have sent people to the NBA, to the NFL, and to the baseball, National Baseball. So we have what you need here. What we need are your children so that we might invest the knowledge and skills that we have. Reverend Jackson is encouraging every pastor to have a STEAM sports program as we look at our 1,000 churches. And now I want you to greet warmly our musicians as they come at this time and render a musical selection. Give them a warm round of applause.
Today we got a special guest. Mr. Dante Hall is in the room. Come on, Mr. Dante Hall. Recording artist, he's gonna bless us in his own way. Come on up.
How y'all doing, Operation Push? Y'all good? Oh no, how y'all doing, Operation Push? Y'all good? Listen, this is a song that the good Reverend Jesse Jackson loves me to do. You can turn it up a little bit if you don't mind. It's an old Johnny Taylor song that I remade. I learned it from him. What about my love? Come on, put your hands together. Seems you have forgotten love. I do believe that something went wrong somewhere. Oh, put your hands together better than that. What about my feelings? Do they mean anything at all? You got me so in love, I'm too blind to see. Now that you got my love, you don't even come around. That ain't right. Now that you got my love, stand on shaky ground. This is what I asked her. What about it, baby? What about the days and the nights we spent? What about the love we made so sweet? You know it was good. Are you sure you wanna let? Think it over, baby, 'cause girl, I believe, I think you just might wanna, you might wanna change your mind. Now that you got my love, now you wanna put me down. That ain't right. Now that you got my love, stand on shaky ground. Hey, do me a favor, give it up for yourself. Reverend Jesse Jackson, Operation Push. I'm Dante Hall. You guys got one of the best ministers of music here in Maurice Mahan. You gotta give it up for him. Give it up for him. Are you shouting? Are you shouting? What kind of way is that to treat your man? Oh, when I gave all that I never had, you got me going through changes of life with you. Before you walk out that door, girl, are you sure you wanna leave? Thinking over, babe, 'cause girl, I believe that. I think you just might wanna, you might wanna change your mind. That you got my love, you don't even come around. Yeah, 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 yeah. Now that you got my love, you got me standing on shaky ground. Hey, now that you got my love, you don't even come around. You got my love. Woo, you got me standing on shaky ground. I ain't waiting on y'all. Come on. Put your hands together. Put your hands together. Oh my. I had a conversation with her. It went something like this. Before you leave out the door, oh, before you leave out the door, baby, won't you change your mind? Hey. I'll do better if you change your mind. Now that you got my love, you don't even come around. That you got my love, you got me standing on, standing. You don't even come around. You don't come around. Now that you got all my love there, you got me standing on shaky ground. One more time, y'all. Put your hands together. Put your hands together. Oh my. I have to talk to her again. It was something like this. Before you leave out the door, oh, before you leave out It's you, Mo. Lord have mercy. Cause I need you and you need me. I know we can be happy. Wait and see, baby, won't you? Change your mind. Hey, I'll do better if you change your mind. Now that you got my love, you don't need come around. Now that you got my love, you got me standing home, standing home, standing home, standing home shaking. Now that you got my love, listen, you don't even come around. Now that you got my love, you got me standing home shaking. Thank you.
Give Dante Hall another round of applause. Now, we have a Push Excel oratorical program, and each and every week we highlight our young people so that parents, wherever you're watching, you can see that our children can speak, our children can perform. And so today we're going to feature another young person who's a part of our oratorical competition program. In coming weeks, you are going to hear from some of our spoken word artists. We're going to also feature some of our young people who are engaged in persuasive speaking and dramatic presentation. But today, I am excited to present to you Trayvon Woodford. He's a third grader at Language and Music Academy in Oak Park, Illinois. Give Trayvon a round of applause.
Good morning. My name is Trayvon Woodford, and I will be reciting a poem named Equipment by Eggert Quest. Figure it out for yourself, my lad. You've all that the greatest of men have had. 2 arms, 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 eyes, and a brain to use, if you would be wise. With this equipment, they all began. Get a hold of yourself and say, I can. Look them over, the wise and the great. They take their food from a common plate. And similar knives and forks they use. With similar laces, they tie their shoes. The world considers them brave and smart. But you've all they had when they made their start. You can triumph and come to skill. You can be great if you only will. You're well equipped for what fight you choose. You have legs and arms and a brain to use. And the man has risen great deeds to do began in his life with no more than you. You are the handicap you must face. You are the one who must choose your place. You must say where you want to go, how much you study the truth to know. God has equipped you for life, but He lets you decide where you want to be. Courage has come from the soul within. The man must furnish the will to win. So figure it out for yourself, my lad. You've all that the greatest of men have had. With your equipment, they all began. Get hold of yourself and say, I can. Thank you.
That's what we do. Trayvon is a powerful example of what investment in children at an early age. Just a third grader. Can you imagine what Trayvon will be like when he is in high school? So we thank God for his family, and we thank God for Judge Hill, who works with these young people each and every Saturday. Bring your young people. All can learn, and they learn at different levels, but that's why Push Excel is so important. The Push for Excellence model is essential, that we invest in children early so that they can grow and develop to be all that we can imagine and so much more. One of the things that you have probably heard in the paper is about the Trump administration, among other things, has made an effort to address the affirmative action. They haven't filed a case before the United States Supreme Court, but what they have been doing in the Justice Department, there is a division of the United States Department of Justice that handles civil rights matters and education. Jefferson Beauregard Sessions is the Attorney General. Jefferson Beauregard Sessions, a son of the segregated Confederate South. He is the chief lawyer for this nation. He has decided to change the administrative policies with regard to affirmative action and the admission of African Americans, people of color, women, and others in institutions of higher education by suggesting that race cannot be a factor in deciding whether or not a student should be admitted. Now, one needs to understand that the whole policy of affirmative action is a response to what we endured as African Americans and others who are people of color making an effort to obtain a higher education. One, we were excluded during slavery from being educated at any level. We were not allowed to read. Teaching a slave to read was considered a violation of the law. And after we were able to learn to read, we were then forced to become educated in segregated facilities, which in many instances took us to take buses to schools or create one-room classrooms in churches so that we could have some basic education. And many ex-slaves built colleges and universities to take us from the one room, all 8 grades in one building, or all 12 grades in one building, to what they call normal schools, and ultimately colleges and universities where we could get and obtain information for higher learning. We lived through segregation, segregated facilities, where we could not go to classrooms and attend schools that were integrated with other children. Finally, Brown versus the Board of Education in 1954. Now, this is several hundred years post-slavery. There was this desegregation opinion issued by the United States Supreme Court, which allowed us to go to schools. You know, Linda Brown, whose father took her, and Jonathan has told you about this, to a public school which was much closer to her home, and that was at that time considered to be a violation of the law. Brown versus Board of Education passed, and then they started this effort to desegregate schools, and what they started with busing and so forth. Later, after the 60s, in the 70s, there was this movement to expand the Brown decision to include higher education. We could not go to colleges and universities that we were qualified to get in merely because we were African American. And then they have this thing at certain schools, almost all schools, called legacy. President Bush is a byproduct of legacy. If your family went to the school, you were automatically guaranteed a seat just based on legacy alone. So now you have Jefferson Beauregard Sessions, who has decided in his infinite wisdom, with the support of 45, to now say we don't have to consider race when admitting students to schools like Harvard, Princeton, Yale, or any other of the majority institutions, which means that you will end up with these schools reverting back to having no African Americans admitted. And the myth is that we are less qualified. No, we're more qualified generally. We've just been denied admission based on race alone. Affirmative action is to give an affirmative way for you to deal with the past decisions based on race that prohibited a whole class of people from being admitted to these schools. And so we are going to be convening teachers and educators across the country. We must fight this ruling that's now administrative before they try to move a Congress that is moving to the far right to pass legislation that would prevent and prohibit schools to look at a student's qualifications and consider as one of the factors the race of the student and the composition, the racial mix of the students in the school so that you have diversity. How can America exist in a world that is very diverse culturally and racially and have educational institutions only teach one race of people, the white race, the white male race predominantly? And so we object to this guidance, and we are going to be organizing and mobilizing to prohibit it from moving forward in our society. What does this mean? That means in November, you can't just sit out and say, I'm not going to vote. Because if your child is at a majority institution today, they are talking about how more of our children will not be admitted to these schools because of race alone. They will be barred from admission because they won't be considered. They don't have to consider them. We do not want a